What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2. We are back on the Chaos 10 Coral Reef Town, and this time we are going to play around a little with our Apprentice. So we're going to use some Earthshatter towers with Earth Toss, Mass Destruction and Destruction, Anti-Melee, Anti-Chaos and Defense Rate, and we're going to use Arcane Barriers for our walls. So we got Accumulator, Protective Downgrade, and Hardened Servo, with Auto Repair, Juggernaut, and then Arcane Refulgence. Now, a couple of cool things about both of these defenses. First off, the Arcane Refulgence makes it so that we don't need a Reflect Beam. Now, the projectiles will get absorbed. Your defense, of course, is still going to take a bunch of damage, and Arcane Refulgence helps reduce some of that damage taken. With that in mind, though, Hex Throwers can throw at this bad boy all day long, and it is not going to hex anything behind. Now, with the Earthshatter towers, they have one extremely unique property compared to really almost any defense of its type that's a tower-type defense in the entire game. And that is, they don't care about line of sight, and they don't care about elevation. So in this example, we've got one lane passing underneath right here. Another lane passes directly over on top, making the perfect killing zone for Earthshatter towers to be able to handle both of those lanes. So let's go ahead and throw an Arcane Barrier right about there, and then let's go right about here as well. And we see we've got a nice little area here where we're going to hit enemies. Now remember, the enemies on this lane are even going to be getting hit down here. As long as we are in line with that Arcane Barrier and the Earthshatter is targeted that way. Now this build, we're going to have one big, huge problem. And that is we're not going to have anything to hit Hex Throwers. Just the way I'm building the map, there's not going to be anything pointed out that way. Now we do know that Hex Throwers like to get uppity here, so we are going to throw a Reflect Beam on the core right there. And then we're going to build this entire thing off of just one buff beam. So I'm going to go ahead and slap that one buff beam down first. Additionally, I am using all for one on my boost auras. So we're just going to go with one boost aura, and we're going to have a ton of range on it. But let's go ahead and get things started here. If we take a look at our lanes up there, we go something like that. It's going to cover it all. Something like that, etc. Let's go with 4 Earthshatters here, making sure that the left side of the Earthshatter is at a minimum in line with that Arcane Barrier. So we got so much mana left, or so much DU left. Let's go ahead and go 6 on this side since it is a double lane. Now, since we're sharing a buff beam, we get kind of a wonky angle over here in this lane, and it's going to make it a little bit tougher for our Earthshatter towers, particularly to hit anything that's coming out that way. I am going to try to put one of them as much as I can around that way, but I think something like that will get it. Now, what? That's actually 2 Earthshatters. Let's go 5 Earthshatters there instead. Now, what do we have left to do? We want to get Destructive Pylon down. We've got all my pylons, of course, are on a Reflect Beam, so let's just go ahead and drop a Reflect Beam right there. We want to be able to get, well, we need to get that boost aura, the big all-for-one boost aura in, and then that's going to leave us enough room to put 1 Skyguard in. Let's just slap that Skyguard right there. Now, since these walls are going to be taking some shots, we're going to go ahead and prioritize getting those upgraded. Let's just throw a couple of upgrades on those and let it fly. Now, we're not going to have any Hex Throwers here at the beginning of the map, so it won't be an issue right away. But when the Hex Throwers come, we are going to want to shoot them ourselves. Additionally, with the Earthshatter providing knockup, remember that is the one counter that you can use against the Chieftain. Anti-heal is not really a counter, as anti-heal is going to stop them from being healed. It's a helpful mod, yet it doesn't counter the enemy. Chieftains, however, can be knocked up and they can be knocked back. So anything that provides knock up or knock back is going to work wonders against the Chieftain. With the knock up, though, our Skyguard is going to be heavily distracted, as it's going to be shooting at enemies all over the place. With that in mind, we want to be very conscious of flyers, particularly this lane, as they're basically going to go uncontested all the way in until they get to what, like right about here. So is going to be super important to keep an eye on flyers. Additionally, once we get those hex throwers, we are the only thing that's going to kill them. So hex throwers and flyers we do want to be on the lookout for. Everything else should be pretty smooth sailing without any major issue. So we're just going to kind of let everything else run. Now we will, like I said, we'll keep an eye out on the mini-map. This is another one of those stare at the mini-map until something happens sort of situations. We're taking a good bit of damage here. Oh, that's a Sharkin. I guess we need to keep out for Sharkin too, because they do hit like a truck. Go ahead and throw a repair on that bad boy. So Sharkin that push through flyers and hex throwers. The Sharkin, I think, will end up just dying as we get more and more upgrades in. So I don't think there'll be a long-term problem, but it's definitely in the early waves we're going to want to keep an eye out for that. So let's go ahead and throw one more upgrade on each of the walls and kind of get them set for when we start getting those hex throwers. Let's get one right here, and let's see, we have a bunch of mana here. Not a bunch, but a little bit. Let's go ahead and get one more up top as well. Now, I do want to make sure that I'm getting lots of upgrades in on all of my things down here. I did upgrade that Skyguard twice because the Skyguard is going to be putting in serious work with this build, and particularly with only one of them. So it is going to get a workout, there's no doubt. Let's check out Wave 2 here and see how it goes. I'm sure that top wall is still going to take some damage. I almost wish the Sharkin had a different color icon on the mini-map. However, with that in mind, also, Sharkin are something that you'll eventually just power through and be ignoring them. So as you get more upgrades in, or depending on what defense you're using, you're going to be able to get through those Sharkin much, much quicker. See, those Chieftain are getting knocked up and having to pop their bubbles really, really early. Getting a little bit of a build-up up here. No Sharkin, though, so I'm just going to kind of ignore the Chieftain. And pretty smooth sailing so far. I don't like that build-up up there, though. It looks like it's just Chieftain. The wall is still full. But nothing to be super alarmed about, but when you're playing the stare at the mini-map game, sometimes the look on the mini-map can be a little deceiving. You'll see a whole lot built up on a wall. If that wall is not flashing red, then it can pretty much be ignored for the most part. When it's flashing yellow, then you know it's taking some shots. But once it starts flashing red, it might be a good idea to go check them out then. Still pretty smooth sailing. We won't have any hex throwers again yet. We see we got some little Gobu bombers here. Let's take a look and see what they did. They did nothing. The arcane barrier was able to heal right through that one. See, Chieftain popped his buff and still got knocked up. So a lot of the Chieftain's bubble is being wasted. This is one of the things that makes it just absolutely incredibly good to have one Earthshatter per lane in survival, just for knocking up the Chieftain. It's just super, super strong. All right, here come all of our flyers. I think that side will be fine. Just get this side worked out. And one more, and there, the flyers are all down. Now, I feel like my walls are probably in pretty good shape, but I'm going to go ahead and upgrade this one to max. I think we'll take this one all the way up to max as well, just to get as much health as we can on those bad boys. And then, let's see. Just dump everything that's down here. I think that's good. Let's let it fly. And we should start getting threatened a little bit more right about now. But overall, you got a pretty smooth turtle build. If you like boosting, You know, you could sit here on your Initiate or Lavamancer or Countess and buff these defenses, and then they're just going to absolutely shred. I like running around on my Hunter personally, just my personal favorite. However, if you do enjoy the boosty builds, this would be one for you. You can buff your entire stack all from one spot in a pretty chill way, really. Alright, we got a Siege Roller rolling out. We'll have to deal with that guy. But it's going to be a little while until that little Gobu gets out. So we can give that Siege Roller a little time. Let the rest of these mobs burn off just a touch. It is kind of a slow burn because you do have to wait for everything to get into your little killing zone. We got Zerked on, but it looks like we're probably going to be fine still. Alright, the Siege Roller is almost out. The Siege Roller's out enough now, but it's got a lot of mobs behind him. See if we can get through some of this stuff. There we go. And we're blinking up here, so we know we're taking damage, but once again, we can come and look, and we're able to heal through a large portion of it. Looks like these little goblins are out of range as well. It would be helpful to move one of these a little further over to help that range. But the problem then is you're taking killing power directly away from your walls. So with that in mind, not the absolute smoothest prospect, even though it would work. Alright, we got a bunch of flyers left. Mainly that dive bomber. The Wyvern, I think, would get owned by the Skyguard before it makes it in. But that dive bomber could cause some serious problems, no doubt. Let's just kind of spam some upgrades around, and we'll let it fly again with Wave 4. Now, in Wave 4 on, we're definitely going to have to start targeting down some ranged enemies ourselves. So we're going to want to just, once again, keep an eye on what's going on. If you got a pack of javelin throwers or hex throwers or something throwing at your wall, you're going to want to be conscious of that. And although the arcane barriers are fairly tanky against the range mobs, you don't want to just let stuff sit there and go ham on it. Looks like the upgrades have gone a long way, though. Things definitely smoothed out quite a bit. Got one dive bomber coming in. Okay, so we got an ogre over here. We can ignore that ogre, I believe. And no hex throwers or any issues yet. We'll probably get hex throwers from this lane. We'll probably throw directly at the core here. Hex throwers from either of those sides have lots of shots there. And then hex throwers from the top lane, of course, we'll stay back and throw as well. So we're just going to want to be conscious of that. Looks like the ogre is finally making the loop. Should be in damage range here pretty soon. There we go. Well, you saw that. As soon as the ogre gets into the damage range, he's going to get slapped. Little Gobus again, just slightly out of range there throwing. And so far so good, pretty smooth. We do have a lot of enemies coming out from this side. I think they'll get all get handled fairly well, though. Still no, there's our first javelin throwers, I believe. Or maybe there was some that I just didn't notice. Since the javelin thrower was coming from that lane, it may actually get hit without any issue. Got another Sharkin in the mix there. Let's get that guy burned out. And here come all of our flyers. Got one lane down. Make sure that dive bomber gets good and wrecked for sure. But we got a Plaguing Hawk and a Slickelion. Just let this Slickelion get handled. He'll be there during the next wave, but he's also going to be right in the sweet spot where all my defenses are snapping. So there shouldn't be any issues. So pretty smooth sailing overall. One of the things, I mean, the Earthshatter hits like an absolute truck. That's part one. Part two would be their knockup is just absolutely incredible CC. So we don't have this one upgraded all the way, but we see the tooltip damage on it. It just slaps. It does really, really good. That, of course, is not including the anti-mods. So all of that damage is stacked right on top, and it means our Earthshatter is hitting super, super hard. But you combine super hard hitting with arguably the best crowd control for Chaos 10 or any content where chieftains are present, and you just get a real powerhouse of defense with it having kind of the wall hacks without needing line of sight and being able to just shoot through any walls, and additionally no elevation concerns. So I mean, it'll blast down here, it'll blast up here, doesn't matter if the enemy is on a high path. There's a few maps that are really, really, really good for Earthshatters. And in this situation, with this over and under lane right here, this is a real prime example of one of them. So you can basically shut this whole side down with just one little build loadout. Wall still didn't take too much damage. We got an ogre coming out up top. Then what else? A stone wolf over here. And it looks like another ogre here. So those ogres we can ignore. I am going to want to make sure this wall stays healthy, though. We'll throw a repair on it. The stone wolf just got annihilated. Wow. See, ogre number 1 is down, and ogre number 2 should be back in the corner there. Should be coming into range relatively soon. Not quite there yet. But same thing will happen there. The ogre's just going to get slapped. Super hard. That's what they should have called them. Earth Slappers instead of Earth Shatters. What do you guys think? Alright, ogre down. We do have hex throwers over here. They're throwing up in the backside of that wall. So they got a little bit cheeky there. They decided not to throw it to core. They decided to throw at that wall instead, but they are down now. We will have more, so we're going to want to keep an eye on this. We got a few little, or there's some more hex throwers on the top lane. We also had, looks like one Gobu that didn't quite make it into range there. And we're looking pretty solid overall. You know, we're down to the final... really the final Zergs, or the final packs of enemies rolling out. The Earthshatter is just a quite powerful tool. It's super expensive. Now remember, by default, the Earthshatter is earth damage, so you can use it for an elemental combo. Of course, elemental combos are not super effective in Chaos 10, so we don't want to bother with it here. But if you are doing content where elemental combos are overpowered, so like they completely break Onslaught, and they completely break many of different Chaos tiers, as it's just so crazy, crazy powerful. Earthshatter is one of your go-to vanilla choices, and there we go. So pretty smooth overall experience there with the Earthshatters, one Skyguard, and yeah, those arcane barriers. So arcane barriers did good. But that will do it for now, y'all. Thanks an absolute ton for watching. Hopefully everyone is having an absolutely wonderful day, and I will see you next time around. Take it easy.